So, hello and welcome to our third tutorial for singlemanweb.com about HTML coding. So we are coding from the scratch and it's useful to everyone. So this time in this part we will learn about non-visual elements. So it's just logical elements on the page which helps us divide it into several parts, and those are called div and span. Last time we spoke about formatting text. It was fun because we can use it on every web page and everybody can see the result. Now we will just do the hard work, which is much more important, but it's not so obvious to see. So I prepared a single manweb.com heading, and that's all we have on our HTML page. Here you can see the code. As always, everything is enclosed in HTML tags. We have the head part with the title, which is HTML coding tutorial number 3. You can see it here. And I added the tag style. Well, it doesn't belong here in HTML because in style I'm using the CSS or Cascade Style Sheet, which tells us the styling of our elements, but it uses the HTML tag and that style. It's paired as always. It's opening and close tag here. And here I just say, because it's div and spans are logical elements and are not seen or can't be seen, I'll style them. So the div will have 1 pixel solid blue border, span will have 1 pixel solid red border. Well, you don't have to care about CSS, we will learn it in a separate tutorial, but now let's get started. So if you imagine a website, you usually want to have it divided somehow, because you will have a heading, you will have a sidebar with the menus, you will have the content. Don't forget, HTML is like the bricks. We will just tell the browser what elements we are using and we will style them later. So now we will learn how to divide our page and prepare it for later styling it, and it will be the first important step to building a real website. So I will write here the first div element. Well, as you can see, as you can see, when I refresh the page, we can see the hello world, and the blue border is here only because I'll style it. If I comment it, so it's not working now anymore, the blue border disappears and it looks like the paragraph or another text element. So this is comment in CSS, and it means don't look at this rule now. So I turn it back. So the blue element is not default, it's just styled by me now. We will usually style it anyway or don't style it at all. Well, first of all, the div doesn't mean anything. It doesn't give or make your text look like something. Only important thing is that the div element is a block element. It means it goes for the whole row. So if I add another div element, hello Mars, well, we have one word, why don't we have another one? So if I refresh it, you can see the second div is on the second row. So the div element is always from left to right. As always, we can change everything in CSS, but default it looks like this. Well, I just show you one span element, and span elements is the same, those are the same like the div elements. Only exception is they are not blocks. So what does it do? It's not divided into separate rows. So if I put hello and world in different span elements and I refresh it, as you can see, we have them on one row. So the difference between div and span is very small. So if I want to add a big block like the header or the sidebar around here, I will use the div element. If I want to highlight the word or another word in the text, I will probably use the span element. Okay, So those are just theoretical talks, but what do we want to do it or use it for? So well, I would start saying, why do we have our heading? Well, a heading usually means it's some kind of a header. So I will make one header, one big block, where we will have our heading, our catchphrases, maybe our logo, some images, and so on and so on. So why do we need to have it enclosed in a div tag? Well, imagine div tag as a container. We can address it as a whole. So if I add image, we didn't learn about images yet. So image uses a tag image, and it uses the attribute as the anchor tag, and it's not ref because ref is used in anchors, but it's the only attribute we know. It uses src, which stands for source. Okay, I have here an image of Google, so I will add it, and well, it's PNG, I think. So if I refresh it, yes, as you can see, the image was added, and all of it, the heading and the image, is now enclosed in a div. So this is the proper header, and if we want to move it on the left, on the right, change the background, we can do it by one command because it's in one container. Okay, so how do we do it? We will add another attribute, and we will learn two attributes today. One of them is ID, and the second one is class. I start with the ID, and this identifies the proper block. So this one will be header, so I can name it header. It's just my name I chose, so you can choose anything you wish. It doesn't matter anything, but it gives you the opportunity to address this specific block later. So here I have my header, and later I can add something in my CSS style here or in different file to address the whole header. So to imagine what we will do more and what can we do with it, imagine that we will split the pages into another parts. One of them will be my sidebar. Okay, I use the word my so you don't forget that it's just my name I chose, so you can choose anything you wish. Okay, saving again, refreshing, and oh, of course the sidebar wouldn't be that wide, but because I don't want to show you much of the CSS, let's keep it this way. Okay, so one thing, I will rename it to menu because the menu could be like this. So yes, it looks much more natural, and I will have probably the most important div element here, and it will be my content. So why am I doing it again? Well, I add some important content. So why am I doing it? So I can divide the page into blocks, into logical blocks, which doesn't necessarily mean to scene. So you don't have to see the borders. I can disable it anytime, but if I want to address the menu where I can have like 10 or 20 items, I can address it by one targeting because I have div with ID menu. I have div with important content. So I will show you how to address it in CSS, although it's not the main purpose of this tutorial. So if I want to address the ID block, I just add the double cross. You can write the double cross with Alt and 35. Okay, and I will show you another rule for CSS. Look, everything in CSS is enclosed in curly brackets. Everything in HTML is in angle brackets. So what does it do? Obviously, it turns the background color into blue. Well, I used blue here so you wouldn't see it, so let's make it gray. Okay, and as you can see, now I have my content gray. Well, don't worry much about CSS. I just want you to show some visualization of non-visual elements. So with the span, it would be completely the same, but they are less important when building a web page, because with span you just well, you can just highlight some word or some part. If you have a long text and you want to divide it precisely, you can target any parts you wish with the span. Okay, so now let's let's find some use for the span. And as I told before, we have IDs and we have classes. ID is unique identifier, so it means you can only have one my header on one page. Of course, you can have another div which is called my header number 2 or my header B. Well, but you can have the same name at the same time on the same page. Class, on the other hand, is made for repetition. So this time I will say imp. Well, it stands for important. And how to target the class with CSS? We target is with the dot. Okay, I will add something div same. So background color, let's make it yellow, for example. And as you can see, the span has turned yellow. Why do we use it? Because sometimes you know what parts of the web page will be different. So well, it's just copy and paste the same part, but in the real text you know that this word is important, this word is important, this word is important. You just mark them with the spans, and then you realize, okay, I don't like the yellow, so I could change it anytime to red, for example, and all the marked classes are changed into red. What is used of it? Well, sometimes HTML is the first scratch how to build a website. It means I know that I need a header, but I don't have logo yet. I know that I will need a menu. I know that I would love to have it blue, but I don't have all the items yet. I know what's me in the content part, but I'm not sure if I use the red or yellow color. So I just use the spans in the text or div for the big elements to divide all my content. So in later use I can target specifically one of the divs or all of the classes at once, and I can have it here in the CSS sheet, which can be in a different file. So it's much more easy to maintain, and every web page is or should be properly divided. That's why it's called div, into blocks. So it doesn't look so important, but the div and the spans are the backbone of every web page. So I advise you to poke with them a little, try to log what can it be done with it, and you can try to use the CSS as well. Don't worry, just add this text to your web page, and well, of course you can change the colors without knowing what does it do. Okay, so I think that's enough for today. Don't forget, there are two important elements, div and spans. They are just used to mark, target, or divide into blocks or parts of the web. They are called logical or semantic elements because they doesn't do anything on their own. They just divide the content. We learn about IDs and classes, which are the most important attributes of them all, and as a collateral limit we'll learn the images and some CSS styling. So that's enough for today. So don't forget to subscribe to our channel, like us on Facebook, and visit our page singlemanweb.com, where you can find much more of these tutorials. So see you.